Around 4 years ago, we started to see a number of media articles and pieces talking about the so-called Chinese graveyard of solar panels. And seeing this yourself was quite the shocker, should I say, when you're seeing this huge pile of solar panels, of batteries, of all of this waste amongst a green industry as we know it. And so it caused quite a big uproar in terms of how are we looking at the circular economy for this renewable energy industry. How are we going to increase the recycling and the reduction of waste? How do we reintroduce elements, minerals, batteries, panels back into the market? And the reason that we saw this at the start of the 2020s is because China was very quick and early to adopt the solar technology. And so the life cycle of 20 to 30 years was starting to come into effect now. So in actuality, it's not because China necessarily is doing it differently to other people or to different nations, but rather that they were one of the first responders and were able to I guess close out these project life cycles quicker than a lot of other countries. And so they're seeing the negative side of coming to the end of a life cycle when not having any sort of plans to recycle, to incorporate a circular economy. And so you inevitably now think, well, how are we faring in Africa? Well, there are some good things and some bad things to mention. By 2030, we're expected to have about 10 million electric vehicles in Africa. Now this is quite far away from Europe and other first world countries, but that is quite a large amount, especially when we're looking at the minerals and batteries that are needed for this. Currently, 95% of our battery value chain is located outside of Africa, so that is a huge burgeoning cost for us as a nation, for companies operating in Africa, to incorporate these battery technologies when the costs are so much higher. And further, only 5% of batteries, of lithium batteries, for example, are actually recycled at the moment. However, we can recycle 95% of them. And so we can see with the stats that they are painting a grim but also potentially pretty picture for us. Africa has been really good with sort of trying to focus out these circular economy issues from the get-go of the renewable energy life cycle. It's just very hard, of course. Technology is always changing, how we process things are changing. And so, you know, between Rwanda, South Africa, Nigeria and Kenya, 4 nations that have really pushed the agenda with regards to the circular economy and recycling and reusing. And so they've put together a few pilot projects and I guess agreements in place to push that agenda even further. And so it's going to be very interesting to see now, with the massive growth that we're having now, how much importance from regulators, from companies and from private individuals, how much emphasis is going to be placed on how well we recycle this. And inevitably, if we can recycle 95% of our batteries and only 5% of our battery life cycle is happening in country, that is a huge deficit we're able to make up, and a massive industry for us to really focus on and to be leaders, hopefully globally.